Someone asked, what is a pole swivel? This is a pole swivel. It's a swivel that's on a pole or on a stem, or what's a stem swivel? Only one end, and on the other end you have a long stem. And you go to Cabela's, you go to Bass Pro Shops, they can't find anything like it. And it's because they don't sell anything like this. I used to use wire to tie floats. See that eyelet there? I used to have to make that by hand, by wire, all the time, and it took so much time, and I got sick and tired of doing it because it took much longer for me to get the floats out to people. Quite honestly, I went overseas. I mean, I didn't fly overseas. I just went overseas, found a manufacturer overseas who makes these things, and they work with me. I work with them. They work with me, and they were willing. And I bought a shipment of these from them. You know, I buy these things by the thousands, and I use them for all kinds of things now. And so I sell these. They manufacture them for me, and I sell them under my private label of Black Warrior Lures. And they're available on Amazon. If you're interested, I'll throw the link in there. But it's a swivel float, so that reduces the line twist. What kind of flies? You know, just basic, some sort of a jig type of, and that makes that Dodger disc so much more effective. It just gives it a lot more motion. I mean, every which way it can fall and flutter about, it will. Because they actually fit perfectly right here in a regular old fly tying vise. Another way to use these is in my weights. This is a weight, it's a 7-ounce weight that I'll use, you know, in my hand lines. You guys see me doing a lot of hand line fishing. That'll just flow right into there, that snap there, and bam. Right? And that'll just be dragging across the bottom. Just like that. Just like a hand line that you would see on some of those guys on the Detroit River. Just drags my drag weight. That's what I'm calling a drag weight. Just made these up a few weeks ago. I'll probably get a video on how I made these a few hours ago, actually, but probably get a video on how I make those. You can do all kinds of things with them. You use them in your weights here like that. You can tie flies with them. Use them in my floats. I haven't even found other uses for them. An incredibly practical thing to have, but a Dodger disc here. You just see, just like this guy here. Silvery or whatever, and that'll fit right on there just like that. Okay, so first thing, beads. These are 8mm beads. Use whatever size beads you want. So again, just get some super glue on this guy. Where do you position it? Just anywhere. And so what we're going to need to do is let this dry. It will be a mere fraction of a second for you, but it will be whole minutes for me. Time is truly relative, my friends. Now, what you do is you're going to mount that sucker right. See, that's just not quite dry yet. I'm going to mount that thing right there. Okay. Almost out of thread, too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10. Thread snips, snip off. And we'll mount this guy right here. Just, you want there to be some room for the balls here to wiggle, rattle. And it lays on there pretty well, believe it or not. And if you want to adjust it, you can. Get it right on top there if you want. Or you could have it coming out under the bottom. It doesn't really matter. And then touching turns on the way back up. Well, man, it's just breaking. And if this hole is too big here, you can always just thread base it with some of this thread to make up the difference in the whatever. But since we got the bigger hook on here, we'll use the bigger rattle. Hold it there and it's just messy. In fact, I actually don't like tying this fly, believe it or not, but this is the one that people keep buying, or a version of it. I just don't like having to deal with all the super glue, really. Tie in our white. Oh, come on. See, that's the thing. Yeah, see, that's not on there very securely right now. A lot of this is improvisation. I'm having to just make it up. And that rattle should be further back. But we'll see what we can do. I mean, it's part of why you tie flies, and you tie and you make mistakes and you just keep on tying. These, seriously. It's okay to crowd the eye of the hook, right? Why? Because you're tying onto this, not to the eye of the hook. In fact, the eye of the hook can be clipped off if you wanted to. We go there. And we're gonna stroke this guy back. 4, 5. Right there toward about the tip of where the hook starts, and that makes a nice little gill plate there. With bucktail, you always want to, I generally only going to use the longer fibers, so those fibers will either get thrown away or you can just set them aside for the next fly or whatever. And that's a little crinkly. This is the bucktail I got from a hunter, Phil Bishop. You've heard me mention his name before. Oh gosh, you gotta be kidding me, right? So we're gonna come back on the top of it. We're gonna have to go all the way to the top of this thing. It's gonna look like an absolute dog, but that's how a lot of my flies get designed. I just keep tying them until I figure out exactly what I want it to look like, why I want it to look the way I do, and then how I'm gonna actually execute it. And so it's still getting some flare up there. But again, if this were back just, you know, a centimeter back, you know, half a centimeter back, 5 millimeters back, it would look a whole lot different, a whole lot better. It's just to give you an idea of what you can do with these things. And here's, again, this is bucktail olive here. Gonna do the same thing here. Just tie it right in on top of that other one. And it's not gonna look pretty. But again, the fish don't really care. They'll actually catch fish. And there you go. Another thing to do is to put, if you wanted to put some eyes on, I have the eyes here. I'm not going to go that far with this guy. I'd rather just take this guy right here and fish it as is without the eyes. You just put the eye on right there with super glue. I always use super glue with the eyes. But anyway, that's an example of what you can do with, you know, can you hear that? Oh, whenever you sell flies or any kind of fishing equipment, it has to reach a certain aesthetic level, because it has to catch twice. It has to catch the eyes of the fisherman, and it has to catch the fish. That's what you can do with these pole swivels. You can tie and experiment with flies. You can make floats. You can make weights with them. The swivel there with the weight, it's just a, you know, it spins around, and you can drag it across the bottom of the river with my hand line, my drag weights for my hand lines. And let's see if we can find rat dogs. Okay, so again, with this swivel here, rat dog, you guys have seen him post a lot here on the YouTube channel. He posts just about every video, actually, you know, that I post here since he's been watching the videos. Thanks a lot, man. He's always sending me stuff, which I'm grateful to get. And you can see he got a little stick float there. That ain't too bad, huh? Not too bad. You know, a lot of, you see black top, the sort of grayish on the scales and things like that. And you got the orange and bottom there. It's very, now this guy is, again, it's gonna be like a jerk bait. You know, it's gonna just, you know, it's gonna do all kinds of things. Nice small little treble hooks on there. You can probably catch plenty of brim and crappie with that, or, you know, especially crappie might really get that. Probably catch some smaller spots with that as well. These are available on the Amazon page. So I sell them by the 100, and so that way you can get plenty of them. You can experiment with them, see what you want to do with them. And with that, guys, I will see you later. Hopefully we can get out fishing this week, but I don't know. See ya.